Good day, everybody. Everyman Prepping back with you here today. And what do I mean by this is only the beginning? Well, if we look at the picture behind me, you'll see that it's about the trade war between the United States and China. And specifically, what I'm talking about is China starting to limit or even ban the export of critical items or raw resources that the United States needs that we don't produce here or we don't mine up here or get here, that we rely on China heavily. In this day and age, with escalating tensions between China and the United States over Taiwan, the Russia-Ukraine war, all that, it's only natural that we would expect China to retaliate and start as they ramp up their, wanting to take Taiwan back, the war that's coming there, and it is coming. And so we need to expect this, need to plan for this. Like I said, most people aren't talking about it, but I want to put it out there. And like I said, this is only the beginning. I think it's going to grow from here. And a little bit towards the end of the video, we'll talk about what I think will come next in China's banning of products coming to the United States. So before we get into all that, please like, share, and comment on the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. But what we're talking about here, you can see this article on the hedge. China weighs rare earth magnet export ban in retaliation for the Biden chip crackdown. So for those of you that didn't know, Biden put down a kind of basically a sanction on chip manufacturing in China. With parts, technology, all that stuff manufacturing for manufacturing chips. They said you can't be sent to China, you can't be sold there, you can't help them out with it. And it says recently here, Japan decided to join the United States and the Netherlands in restricting exports of chip making gear to China. One thing the U.S. is good at is making chip producing equipment. So, we're going after their technology. We're trying to limit their growth in that sector, which I understand if that's your enemy, you don't want them to get more advanced technology, especially in the military. Understandable. But you can understand that country's going to retaliate, and this is what China wants to do. It says here, Beijing wasn't going to sit there and just do nothing as the U.S. applied sanction upon sanction in hopes of sending China back to the Stone Age. Like I said, United States wouldn't stand for it. China's not going to stand for it. And what they're going to do, they're going to go after a key supply chain product in the tech world, rare earth metals. And this is where China is one of the world's dominant producers, it says. And look at this little diagram here. We see here, this is the global rare earth reserves since 2021. China the biggest. This is in millions of tons of rare earth, REO stands for rare earth oxides, is what that stands for. So China, 44 million tons. Vietnam, 22. Then you got Brazil and Russia. What do 3 out of these 4 things have in common? BRICS members. The only one that's not a BRICS member is Vietnam, but they're looking to join the Shanghai Cooperating Organization. So they're going to get in there. So, what's not in here? Any G7 countries. So BRICS countries, they have the commodities, they have the power, and I've talked about this before. This is how they're going to crush the United States. So that's how much they own. Now we go into leading countries that mine it. As you can see here, the United States actually mines, 15% of the world's rare earths. China is 60%, huge proportion. But you're going to find out we mine this stuff, but then what do we do with it? Can we process it? Can we use it after we, mine the raw resource? Well, I think you know where I'm leading with that, but we'll get to that in a second. This says, coming out of the Nikkei, that China is considering prohibiting exports of certain rare earth magnet technology in a move that would counter the U.S.'s advantage in the high-tech arena. The changes are expected to go into this year sometime. When it says they're considering it, that means it's already done and ready. They just need to put it into plan, execute it. If you're putting out as a country, as a government, that you're considering doing something, you've made the decision. It's going to happen. You're just kind of making the timing go right, making sure all your ducks are in a row, everything's ready to go before you actually pull the trigger. And it says here, the revisions they make would either ban or restrict the export of technology to process and refine rare earth elements. They're also proposing provisions that would prohibit or limit exports of alloy tech for making high-performance magnets derived from rare earths. And this is the picture you see here. Everybody's heard of neodymium magnets, super strong magnets. They're used in motors for electric vehicles because this country wants everybody to drive electric vehicle by like 2030, 2035. A lot of states pass laws out there. California, I think New York, some other ones. So you don't have these magnets, you don't have electric motors, you don't have electric cars. they're also used in high-tech military devices. That's the big thing they're going to hurt is the military. If you're going to war with a country and they need your minerals, your rare earth minerals to make magnets for your military equipment, your missiles, your bombs, your planes, well, you're going to limit that stuff so they can't resupply and rebuild. That's what you're going to do, and that's what they're doing. And it says here that, China's share of this was 90%, and a decade ago it's down to 70%, still dominant producer. But this is what we're going to talk about here. Remember I said, we mine 15% of the world's rare earth minerals. But can we do anything with it when we mine it? No. As you can see here, ironically, most rare earths extracted in the U.S. go to China for refining before being shipped back to the U.S. And that says good luck with that going forward. So that's a big problem we have here in the United States. We produce a lot of things. We get the raw materials, so we can't do anything with it because we offshored all manufacturing, all refining. So we might have the rare earth minerals here, but we can't refine it to use them. We got to ship it to China, and then they ship it back. Well, yeah, I can see, we can still ship to China. I can see them just holding on to it and hold it hostage. Why not? If you're intending to go to war, why wouldn't you do that? So we obviously need to develop that here. Other things this happens to, which, a lot of the fish, all the fish caught in the Pacific, a lot of the fish gets caught right offshore of the United States, shipped to China, processed, frozen, then shipped back. Somehow that's more economical than just making a processing plant here in the United States and doing it all here. I have no idea why it's not. I'm not a shipper. I don't, the cost and all that, it's mind-boggling to me that is more economical than just doing it here. Is it because of building a plant here, government regulations, OSHA, make it cost prohibitive? I mean, even that's so, I don't know. It can't be just wages. It just can't be that. I got to figure there's some other red tape involved. And there's a lot of other products that get shipped to China for processing that come back here. All that's going to stop one day. And then, when this war gets kicked off with Taiwan, which is coming, and then you're going to, have a bigger problem. Now, a lot of people are out there saying, oh, China will never stop trading with the U.S. They need the U.S. I talked about ChatGPT, replacing jobs, and all these computer people, all these journalists, everybody writing articles, everything that this AI can do, they're going to be unemployed, and we need universal basic income. People are saying, I think that's hogwash. We need to find other jobs for these people. Well, you know what? If we brought all these manufacturing and processing in the United States, all those people banging away on their keyboards that got replaced by ChatGPT, they can start slicing fish and processing minerals, something like that. And to get into that, the people that say that China will never do that, well, let me show you something really quick here. I asked ChatGPT if China can survive without U.S. trade. I figured, why not? Let's see what it says. So my question was, can China survive if they cut off all trade with the United States? I'll read it to you really quickly. Basically, it says, China could survive if they cut off all trade with the United States, but it would have significant economic and political implications for both countries. China is the world's second largest economy, and its economic growth has been heavily reliant on international trade, including that of the United States. If China were to cut off all trade with the U.S., it would result in significant reduction of the volume of goods and services traded, which could have adverse effects on both economies. However, this is the big key right here, China has been working towards diversifying its trade partners and reducing its reliance on the U.S. market. It has been developing new trade relationships in countries in Europe, Asia, and Africa. Think of the BRICS, the SCO. And has also been investing heavily in domestic consumption to drive economic growth. Basically, it says in the short term it'll hurt, but in the long term, China will be fine. So there you have it. From there, that's also what my opinion is. I think it'll hurt China at first. They've been planning for it, but they're willing to do it. And who's going to suffer? The United States. Lastly, what else would China do next? I think next will be what they call the active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs. It's used to make drugs. And I don't know about you, but you probably know people. There's a lot of adults out there that are hopped up on mood stabilizers, mood altering, depression drugs. I mean, how many of you know people? I don't know if it's half of the adults. I know it's a lot that they're all hopped up in some kind of drug. And then they got the kids on drugs, which actually this would be a good thing because let's get those kids off the drugs and let them be normal children. When children go crazy and act crazy, that's what children do. You don't need to give them a drug to calm them down because children are supposed to, be a little wild. That's what being a child is. Anyway, digress. Adults are on drugs. You think it's bad when adults don't have coffee? Wait till they don't have their whatever they take for depression or mood enhancement or whatever they're focusing or whatever they need to do. So I believe that's what's come next. I know then people can tell you, oh, no problem. India will save us. India will do it. Well, I looked at that. India gets 90% of their APIs and pharmaceutical ingredients from China. So they're like a middleman. They get their stuff from China. They make it, and they would ship it here. Also, remember, India is part of BRICS with China, trading with China, trading with Russia in their own currency, not the dollar. If you don't think India will just abandon selling the APIs to us as well, if they're in agreement with China and Russia, they will. So it's not a solution. The solution is going to be for the U.S. to find a way to make it in-house. And I think it's going to be a lot of painful things happening in manufacturing and refining in this country before we can catch up. It's going to hurt for a long time, but it's coming. Like I said, so we got food processing, pharmaceuticals will come next, and they'll probably start next after that with electronics, consumer goods, things you can really hurt the people, the will of the people, turn the will of the people against their government. I don't think the people will go against China. I think they'll go against the U.S. government when they can't get their cheap junk from Walmart. And will just sow discontent here, which is great for China when they're going into a wartime footing. So that's what I think the plan is. Like I said, this is only the beginning. So how do you plan for this? What do you do? Well, you need to get your stuff that you get from China now. Wean yourself off China as well. If you can find a replacement that's same cost wise. I know sometimes it's cost prohibitive not to, because China makes cheap stuff, and a lot of people don't have money and they need to get stuff from there. Totally understandable. Totally get it. Stuff from Walmart, Amazon, all that. But if you can start weaning yourself off your dependence from China, or stock up on all of it now, so when it is cut off, you're ready to go. Then you're ahead of the game. So that is my suggestion: is 1, try to wean yourself off anything from China, what you get from there. 2, stock up on everything else you can't wean yourself from. Just get it now. Money's tight, I know. Save that money. Start getting rid of your coffee, wine, beer habit now. Get rid of that. Take that money. Start investing in yourself instead of just drinking it away. So that's all I have for you today. In the comment section below, put your suggestions. What do you think? Do you agree with my predictions? What I think is going on, and China, what they're going to do, if they'll pull all trade or not? Do you agree or disagree with the ChatGPT response about if China can survive? Just write it down below. If you have questions, do the same. And until next time, keep your ear to the ground, head on a swivel.